Hello everybody, I'm back with another video. This time I'm going to show you some stuff about computers. This computer over here, the third one to the left, is my shop computer. It's my second shop computer. I got a main one that I do my editing and my gameplay and streaming on. But this one's basically just in here for me to normally watch YouTube and just random stuff on this television up here. That's what it's hooked up to. And I got some components that I'm going to use to upgrade it. I got some more RAM and another hard drive to put in it. I also want to add some emulators and get some other purposes out of it. I figured why not. I got some extra controllers laying around from back in the day, some extra like GameCube controllers and stuff. And I've also got this little thing. It's called a 3-in-1 Magic Joy box. It allows you to put a GameCube, a PlayStation 2, or an original Xbox controller hooked up with USB, and you can map out the buttons to do whatever you want. So I figured since I had it sitting here and it was able to be hooked up to that TV, why not go ahead and turn it into like a little entertainment computer. I wouldn't mind doing some retro gaming and stuff while I'm waiting on videos to edit and while I'm doing other things in here. So I figured I'd allow y'all to see what I had going on and how I was going to upgrade it. Maybe somebody can learn something. Alright, let's see here. This is the system. I'll turn that down a little bit. This is all thrown together with spare parts, stuff that I wasn't using at the time, but stuff that I wanted to be able to utilize for the purposes that I spoke of earlier. Having just a spare PC, I didn't have to like worry about rendering and having other programs and processes going on in the background on my main computer I have over here. It's all just thrown together. It's running Windows 10. Let me find my screws. Where's my little screw pouch? It's over there. I'll get them in a minute. Anyway, we'll go ahead and take the side panel off. And I'll show you the inside of this thing. If you hear the fan in the background, I do apologize, but it's extremely hot today. I need some kind of moving air on me. This is an old beat up case that I've had sitting around for a while, and I try to utilize everything that I can. That's the side fan. Unplug it from the fan controller. We'll put that to the side. Alright, so basically what we have in here is a Asus M5A 97LE Revision 2.0 motherboard. It's an AMD motherboard. I believe the processor that's in this is a AMD Phenom X4. I think it's a 430 or 480. I can't remember exactly what the CPU is. I know it's a quad core. It's a Phenom 2 X4 with a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Plus aftermarket cooler on it. I had a couple of those laying around and wanted to utilize them. The graphics card is a R9 270, just a spare card that I had around. I have a DVD drive in it in case I want to use it to watch DVDs. And then there's I believe it's an 80 gig SSD. That's the only hard drive, or the only storage device that's in it now, but I want to change that. I have recently reformatted this Western Digital green, caviar green 2 terabyte hard drive. We're going to put this in here so we can store some emulators, some games, some music. Usually I pull music off of the server that's in the house, but I think I'm going to store some stuff locally in here so I'm not using the network. Right now it's also got 4 gigs of RAM inside of it, and I found some extra DDR3 RAM that I believe should be compatible and work with the board. The power supply is a 380 watt Antec Earth Watts power supply. I know that's pretty low watts for a power supply with a graphics card like this in it, but I don't use it for extreme gaming or anything, and it doesn't use up as much power as it's 80 plus bronze too, so I mean it's pretty efficient. It doesn't use as much power as to where it's damaging anything. So first thing we're gonna do, I guess we'll go ahead and worry about putting in the RAM. So when you're installing RAM, you want to make sure nothing's plugged up. You want to ground yourself out to the case or something. I do have carpet in here in my shop just for comfort. I don't think I have any static electricity built up. I've personally never damaged computer components. I don't exactly know if it's an old wives' tale or not about the static electricity and grounding bands and all that. I've never owned a grounding band, but I do at least try to take precautions when I'm being thoughtful of it. But basically all you have to do is make sure both of the tabs on both sides are pushed up, and then you stick the RAM in there and you just gently push down until you hear it snap. There's 1, 2, and we'll do that twice for both sticks. So this will end up being 8 gigs of RAM, 4 2 gig DIMMs per slot. This has 4 slots on it. Your motherboard might have 2 DIMM slots for memory. Some of them have 8. Depends on what kind of board it is and what kind of processor it supports. I do need to get those screws. I look terrible right now, so I'm not going to get on camera. I'm just going to walk around the back, so y'all have to deal with me for a minute. There's probably not going to be a whole lot of editing with this video. I'm just going to kind of film it and put it up. Just a Friday night build of our video. I'd like to get some of the people that watch some of our videos interested in technology, and I think this is a good way to do it. I do need a SATA cable. I do have another SATA cable here. These are a SATA cable. These are pretty standard now. Hard drives and CD drives used to use what they called IDE cables, which look like this, little flat cables that you have to make sure that you hook up right and do jumpers and all that. But with SATA, which is serial ATA, you don't have to worry about all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna find a couple of screws that will hold this hard drive in. Let me see here. There's one that fits. Always keep all of your spare screws and hardware, because you never know when you can use them on another build, or if you decide to add to something later, you've always got access to stuff. So what I'm going to do, I need to see if I have power for it. Yep, there's some more SATA power right there. So I should be good with that. In fact, actually, I'm going to pull this one down. I think this one might reach better than the other one. So I'll call this back up. Now this build right here is pretty sloppily done, in all honesty, because I'm not really worried about cable management like I would be on like my enthusiast builds that I have in the house. And this is just like I said, a work computer that just is more of a purpose-driven PC. So we're going to slide this hard drive here into the bay, line it up with the holes, make sure that I'm not putting too much pressure on anything, which I'm not. While I've got access to it, SATA number, we'll go ahead and plug the SATA cable into one of the SATA ports here on the motherboard, which worked out just fine. And I can plug the other end of the SATA port. It's one of those little 90-degree neck ones. Yeah, we'll push it on in a little bit and let it click. This one has a little click mechanism on it, so you know that it's in there good. So that should be fine. And then what we'll do now is screw down the hard drive into the case so that it's seated properly and stable. And most of my builds have an SSD for the OS, and then mechanical hard drives for storage purposes, like Steam games and anything else that I have to do. The only things that I run off of my SSD is program-wise would be usually my editing software on the computer that I usually do my live broadcasts on, and that's got open broadcast software on it, OBS. I actually run that off the SSD. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but I have enough room on the SSD over there. But with this being such a small SSD, I want to save as much space as I can for operating system updates and graphics card drivers and drivers for other things. So now I'm going to plug in the power, the SATA power. There's a difference between SATA power, which is the little thin ones, and Molex power, which are the pain in the neck, aggravatingest power connectors in the world. Sometimes they don't want to connect real good, so make sure you know that your hard drive can take SATA, and make sure it's not a Molex connector. I actually have an older Western Digital 74 gig Velociraptor, or no, this is just a regular Raptor, my bad. It'll actually take both. It's got a SATA port and it's got a Molex port. I just saving that. That used to, back in 2008, those things were expensive. Before SSDs, the Western Digital Raptors, and then eventually the Velociraptors were the fastest hard drives you could get on a consumer level. They did 10,000 RPMs as compared to the normal 54 and 7200. Alright, so let's see. I need to put 2 screws in the back of here to hold the graphics card thing in. Excuse that old office chair from squeaking. I keep my good computer chair in my bedroom for when I'm in there using the computer. I'm not gonna bring it out to the shop. This thing's old and it makes a bunch of noises. Alright, well, just as a overfresh review, at this point what we've done is we've added 4 gigs of RAM, 2 2 gig sticks in the DIMM slots. We added a 2 terabyte hard drive. We had to make sure that we used the right power connector, which is a SATA power, and we've also had to put another SATA data cable in, which just plugs into the motherboard down here. This motherboard can do SATA 6 gigs per second, but this mechanical hard drive is not going to run that fast. It's probably going to be limited to 3. But what we'll do is, before I put the cover back on, before I do anything else, we're going to give it power and see if it boots on. If it doesn't boot up, then we know that we have an issue with something that we've added to the computer, because it worked fine before I put this stuff in. More than likely, if for any reason it doesn't boot up, it's because of the RAM. I don't exactly remember where I got that RAM from. I just happened to come across it today and thought, hey, I should put that in the computer in the shop. So it might not be good. We might not be able to use it, but we'll give it the old college try. Alright, we're going to try to boot it up now and see what happens. Turn the power supply back on. See if we get on screen. Whoa, cool. So we'll get it to post. Make sure that it logs into Windows. Alright. Cool. Alright, so we have mouse control. Alrighty then. So the next step is we'll go ahead and power it down. We'll put the side panel back on and then plug everything back up to it and make sure it works. Alright, so we'll go ahead and put the side panel back on. Plug it back into the fan controller and tuck the cable away to where it's not messing with anything. Check all my fans to make sure they're clean of obstruction. And we'll put the screws back in. One screw. Two screw. Three screw. All right. Let's see if we can do this to where it stays like I need it to. Now, let's put this back down here. Get everything hooked back into it. Let's see here. 1, 2. Just hooking everything back up to the back. There's my Ethernet, power, mouse. And then I want to hook the adapter where it folds over and it'll sit on top. That way I can hook different kind of controllers up and map them the way I want to. Just kind of let that hang over the front. And then this should just, ooh, I forgot the sound. Because the sound goes through the TV speakers. Alright. So this should just slide on back. And there's a little hole. Get all this arranged. So now I've got access to the controller port, got my keyboard back, and I've got my mouse back. So where I can use it, where I usually sit here. And we'll turn it back on to check everything and make sure everything's functioning correctly. Let's see. Gotta love the angles, right? Alright, we're booting into Windows. Let's see. I've got mouse control, which is good. My keyboard's functioning correctly. And I'll just remember, anytime that you do any kind of upgrades to a system that you already know stable, there's always a chance that just because when you first turn it on and you're first using it, everything might seem fine. If you experience any kind of glitching or a blue screen of death or any kind of crashes, the first thing to check would be anything that you've done recently to the system. It shows that I have internet connection. Let's see, internet comes up. Let's see if it sees the hard drive that I just put in. Wrong one. HP external 2 terabyte. There we are. See, then all I have to do, network. Actually, I'm wrong. I'm going to have to transfer the emulators over differently because the way that I used to have them on the network, I don't have it set up that way anymore. But we'll save that for another video. This one's probably drug on way too long anyway. So I would consider this as a successful upgrade at this point. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the comments section. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, rate this video. Remember, this is one of my earlier videos. I do expect to get a routine going and get a little bit more comfortable doing it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will catch you in the next one.